I take a very frank approach when it comes to marking and feedback, and you'll notice I've got them as two separate entities there, because I'm sure plenty of teachers will agree with me when I say that I don't think marking is feedback. I think 99% of marking teachers do isn't for the benefit of the children, it's just to show that you've marked the work. Every teacher on this planet knows that the best form of feedback is oral verbal feedback. Ideally in the moment, and that can happen in lots of ways: oral verbal feedback, whole class feedback, feedback orally through your devices, through things like Seesaw. Now, I'm passionate about trying to get teachers to get a better work-life balance and sort of use our common sense when it comes to certain admin tasks. And I think because we work in this fear-driven obsession with the accountability education system, we rarely use our common sense with certain things. Statistically, we are now the hardest working generation of teachers ever. The stats show we are working on average around 57 hours a week. Now, the reason for that is that we are the least trusted generation of teachers ever, and we don't mind working hard if we know the work we're going to do is going to have a direct impact on the teaching and learning class, but so much of what's expected of us has no impact. It's more about proving that we're doing the job the vast majority of us are capable of doing. When you're working in that sort of system that is constantly scrutinising you and making you feel like you are a complete and utter failure all the time, that then has a negative impact on your well-being and mental health, which is why we're seeing this crisis in education where retention rates are absolutely dreadful and over 40,000 teachers left the profession last year. If you want an example of what I mean here, how we don't always use our common sense with certain things, we just do them out of what we think Ofsted might want to see or that sort of thing. Let's talk about what I consider to be one of the most pointless things in education. It's these monstrosities: the verbal feedback stamp, or if you've not got the budget, you write in VF in a book. You might be asking, why is it pointless? I use this and I don't have to mark anymore. Yeah, but you shouldn't have to mark anyway. If you didn't stamp a book with that, what impact would it have? Probably the same impact if every teacher never marked another book again. This for me is just another example of how you can't be trusted as a teacher. Why can't you just be left to give feedback and then you'll see the impact by how the children act upon the feedback? What difference does that make? I mean, you should be constantly giving verbal feedback in class all the time. So what, you've got a stamp every time you do that? End up looking like Jim Carrey in that scene from Liar Liar about the pennies blue. The only thing a verbal feedback stamp proves is that the book has been stamped. I made a little video about Teacher Tapp recently, how it can give you an insight, and this was one of the questions. Are you expected to write or stamp VF when you've given verbal feedback? It's nearly half and half. It's mind-boggling. Now, I want to make it clear, feedback is one of the most important things we do as teachers to support children with their learning. But for me, the proof is in the pudding. Whatever you choose to do for feedback, whether it's oral, verbal, written, if you can see that the children are acting upon your feedback, and if you can see that your feedback is moving children on with their learning, there's the proof. The consistency is by the outcome, not the process. And whether you stamp it or not doesn't prove anything. I welcome your thoughts, or if you'd like me to slag something else off that's pointless in education, let me know in the comments.